That means I have like 2 to 3 more weeks where I'm going to be kind of dialing the temperature up, still doing a lot of speed work and focusing on the speed and strength component. And then once I'm about 12 weeks out, I'm going to shift over to doing higher mileage, hopefully 75 to 85 miles a week, a lot more lactate threshold, strides, marathon pace long runs. Hey, my name is Drew. I'm an amateur runner here in Flagstaff, Arizona. This video is part one of my Build to Berlin series, where I'm going to be documenting my training and what goes into my day-to-day life in getting ready for the Berlin Marathon in the fall. I'm relatively new to marathoning. I did my first marathon in 2019, CIM, the California International Marathon, where I ran a 3 hour and 30-minute time. Since then, I'd say I've got more serious about my training over the last 3 years, especially. Moving to Flagstaff has made a huge difference in just the way that I train, my lifestyle, how healthy I feel. I'm going to share a little bit of what goes into that, the different types of workouts that I do or recovery methods, strength and stability and mobility. All of these things that go into being a successful marathoner are things that I practice just to get better on a day-to-day basis, and I want to just share that process and what that looks like with other people who might have started where I started. So I'm about 15 weeks out from the Berlin Marathon. My training block, I really don't want to get into a lot of marathon specific stuff until I'm like 12 to 10 weeks out from the marathon. So what I like to do is front load a lot of my strength work and my lifting and speed work. And speed work is anything I consider to be kind of like that VO2 max down to like truly really anaerobic stuff. So if you're thinking like from very short sprints and very quick intervals of 10 to 30 seconds up until things that are like VO2 max, which would be reps of 4 to 6 minutes at almost like an all-out pace. So like kind of like a 95% effort in training, which can be super hard. So I try and focus on that stuff because it requires a lot more strength and power in the running component. And what I do to kind of facilitate that is I do a lot more lifting. I do a lot more just general stability stuff, just mostly with my lower legs and areas I've had injuries in the past. And even like some hip work, mobility, and try and just get my body as strong as possible before I get to that 12-week mark where I'm going to be focusing more on a true marathon build, which means I'll shift over to a little bit higher volume in my running, which for me is probably not a crazy amount of volume compared to what people see real professional runners and elite runners do. I'm usually more in like the 50 to 70 mile range, but this build during the marathon build component, I really want to get up to like 75, 85 miles per week, which for me is unprecedented because I started running relatively recently in life. This week of April 29th to May 5th, I kind of started doing that after taking a little bit of a break. So I ran almost 55 miles that week. Again, that's kind of like a sweet spot of that 50 to 60 miles. I feel really strong doing stuff that really stresses my body, makes me sore, and requires a lot of recovery time. I feel good at that mileage range, where if I would have bumped that up and run 65, 75 miles per week, that would be really hard for me to recover from some of those sessions that cause a lot more fatigue. So like this week for my Tuesday workout, I did 10 by 200 and then 6 by 100 on the road. And then I also try and incorporate strides at least twice a week. So usually the day before a workout, I will do some strides after an easy run. And then I'll do a few quick strides before my actual workout. So like most of the time I'll do a 2 mile warm up, as you can see here. And then I'll jump into the workout component after I do a few drills and strides just to wake my body up. And then the next day, usually I just take it super easy. What I've been doing is barefoot miles. And I have there's a turf field that's relatively close to my house that I can run to, take off my shoes, and then I just do like 2K, 3K, 4K, sometimes up to like 6K of just easy running on bare feet. That's really helped me strengthen my lower legs and my calves. Like I've had some post-tibial tendonitis in the past where my right foot will kind of cave in and what's it called? Pronate. I'll overpronate on my right foot a little bit too much, and it'll tug on that tendon that runs up the inside of my my leg. To strengthen that, I do a lot of arch strength work where I'll kind of push my foot up into an arch and I'll balance on that, and I'll just keep that arch really, really tight. And then that helps with when I go over to do my barefoot miles, and I also lift barefoot, which helps strengthen those feet. And since doing that, I've actually seen like structural changes in my feet, and it's been amazing. So this week, the week of April 29th, I started doing a lot of that lower leg and foot strength work, and it's really started to pay off. So like this day I did 1.3 miles of barefoot stuff, and you'll see I record those in like different Strava recordings, just because I like to track. Like this year I'm tracking how many total miles I'm doing barefoot. And I track that as I have one of my shoe options is just a barefoot option, and then I have my other shoe options are for other shoes. During workouts, I also track my warm-ups separately, my cool-downs, mainly because I switch shoes and I want to really know how many miles are on all my shoes so that I can get a proper rotation. And I know when a shoe starts feeling funky, like it's flat, like it's kind of lost a little bit of its pop, I can look back at how many miles I've run in that shoe and say, okay, is it time to replace this thing? Or maybe something else is going on. This Thursday, I did some steady work and did a few like really short strides after that run because I had a workout on Friday, a set of 2 by 20 seconds and 2 by 30 seconds in hills. So again, just ran up and down a hill near my house, pretty steep, a bunch of sets of those. And then I did 6 by 30, 30, where I do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And I did that on a flat after doing the hills. I don't lift the day before a workout unless sometimes it's before a long run, just to kind of fatigue my legs. But I try and load up those days. So a day where I'm doing a workout, I will lift after that workout, either immediately after, which isn't the best, but I am really limited on time, especially during the week. Most of the time I have to get all of my running, my lifting, my stretching, my showering, and eating done before 8 a.m. Load that up on some of those harder days, just so that the next day I can really focus on relaxing, recovering from that run. And then hopefully I'll have 2 days of no workouts in between each workout. And then I jump back into a hard session, I load up. And then this long run, I did 60 minutes steady plus a 2 by 2K tempo. And I did that with some friends this week. And then through the month of May, I was training with a friend, Matt Fox, who's training to run a sub 220 marathon. So obviously way faster than I am, but it really helped having a little bit of that support during a workout and just helping push me through some of those harder paces that I'm not used to. Something that I want to do this summer is get more into working out in groups and finding training partners, because most of what I do right now is alone. It can be very challenging to just work out alone all the time. So then did pretty much the same thing for the whole month of May. This week I did, looks like a Wednesday, Sunday, where I took a few extra days off in between. So this Wednesday, I was trying to do 10 by 300 with Matt, but Matt is really fit. I'm not. So we did 2K at threshold, which was kind of just a quick little warm up at around 330 per kilometer, really smooth on the track. I did 5 by 300 where we were doing like 47 down to kind of like 45 higher, 46 low for the 300s, which for me is super fast. That's 60 second per 400 pace. Not something I'm used to doing, especially at altitude. 7,000 feet, that like really, really hurts. So, especially if you're at my fitness level. So I did 5 of them with him. And then I paced him on some 200s and 100s just to get him out the gate. He finished that workout 10 by 300, and he actually went on to run, I think, a 417 mile just a couple weeks ago. So congrats, Matt. Matt's a stud. Yeah, then on the weekend, on Sunday, we did an hour around like a 6:15. This says 6:14 pace for me. I think it was between like 6:10 and 6:15 we were sitting at for about an hour, and really kind of fatiguing the legs. And then Matt and Sarah, which we got to run with Sarah Hall, who that was kind of like a crazy moment for me. She's really strong runner. Obviously, she's kind of a legend. So that was super cool. Her and Ryan was on the bike. Yeah, so tried to hang for the full 30-minute tempo, but really could only do like, I did like 3K of it. Think it ended up being like 11 minutes or so. And then I jumped out and jumped back in later on for a few K toward the end of it when they were coming back, and just jogged in between. But overall, it was a pretty solid workout. Really aerobic early on for that hour, and then a little bit of threshold at the end. Yeah, so this week of May 13th, I actually had a work trip. And then on Wednesday night, I got food poisoning from the restaurant we went to. And I was just wrecked for the whole day, which actually ended up being the day of my event. It passed relatively quickly. So Friday, I drove back to Flagstaff after getting back on the plane. Saturday, ran for an easy hour, felt fine. And then Sunday, actually jumped into another long run. Did the opposite of the previous week, where we did like a 30-minute warm-up at an easy pace, where that easy pace was like, just under, it was like about 650 per mile for 30 minutes. So kind of like a easy, steady, easy. And then jumped into, they did 60 minutes at about 6-minute pace. So 340 to 345, that's like 5:55 to 6-minute pace. For me, I broke it out because Matt and Patrick's another local runner here in Flagstaff. He's also faster than me. He's like a 2:23 marathoner. He wants to be sub 2:20 as well. So I'm trying to keep up with these guys, but I couldn't do their full 60 minutes. So what I did was I broke it out 2 by 15 minutes with 5 minutes easy. And then we actually saw Sarah and Ryan when we were out there, and we jumped in for the last 20 minutes with them and did another 20 minutes around like 5:50 or so. So overall, that's like 50 minutes of some good work around like 5:50 to 6-minute pace. And most of these weeks, I'm, like I said before, I'm kind of hovering around that 55-mile range per week. On Wednesday, a 3K plus 4x400, and then 4x100. Kind of a short workout, but overall, I didn't really feel good, so I think I cut that one a little bit short. I did a long run on Sunday and was going to do kind of like that 60 minutes and then 60 minutes steady and then a 30-minute progression down to a threshold pace. I was feeling just absolutely terrible, so really just ran like pretty easy, kind of a steady long run with my friend Ray. And then we threw in like kind of a surge for about 1K where we ran, about threshold pace for 1K. But overall, I felt absolutely terrible. And then I became sick, and I was sick for the following 2 weeks. Even on a rough day, I like to just keep running because it keeps my body loose, gets my blood pumping. Overall, I just feel good when I run. A lot of times that means I'm running like 9-minute pace or even slower sometimes, just to fully recover from whatever work I was doing before that. Some people like taking a day fully off. For me personally, I've found that I feel better going for a really, 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 really slow 30-minute jog versus taking a day fully off. I'm tracking toward about 60 miles this week, and it's 15 weeks out from the marathon. So that means I have like 2 to 3 more weeks where I'm going to be kind of dialing the temperature up, still doing a lot of speed work and focusing on the speed and strength component. And then once I'm about 12 weeks out, I'm going to shift over to doing higher mileage, hopefully 75 to 85 miles a week, a lot more lactate threshold, strides, marathon pace long runs, and I'll share more of that when I start doing it. I went to the track this Wednesday and I did 4 by a set of 200 and 400 with equal rest. So I did jog rest, 200 fast, jog rest for 200, 400 fast, jog rest for 400. And I did that 4 times. And then I did 4 by 100, and I did those at about 14 to 15 seconds per 100, which for me, that's kind of like that 95% of an all-out pace. Felt really good that day, honestly, and just was going for like not trying to push too hard over the edge. So for me, the biggest takeaways before a marathon build have been really focus on that strength and speed component. So that's the biggest thing I try and focus on. I have a lot of travel coming up this summer. I'm going to have to be balancing that with training. Usually what I do when I travel is I just kind of dial back on workouts, do a bunch of easy running, stretching, and strength work. And then when I get back to Flagstaff, I just go back to my normal training schedule. So I try and keep my mileage up, but not necessarily keep up the workouts when I'm traveling, because I've found I just get really fatigued. You're not eating as well, you're moving around. It can be challenging. Thanks for tuning into this series. I'm really excited to build up to the Berlin Marathon. Hopefully I'll be able to run under 2:30 at the Berlin Marathon. If I don't, I think I'll be happy with anything in the low 2:30s range, to be honest. Hopefully from watching this series, you can learn a little bit about what works for me and be able to apply some of those principles to your own training. If you're starting off, leave a comment and let me know what challenges you face and what are the biggest, the toughest things for you to tackle in training, maybe questions you have that always go unanswered. I'll do my best to answer those in the comments, but also it'll give me a little bit of fuel to do new videos on how I can provide value to you and help you be a better, faster, stronger runner. So if you haven't already, like this video, please. Subscribe to the channel. It really does go a long way in supporting what I'm doing in trying to bring valuable information to other people like me and people who might be starting out in running. I'll be publishing a new episode of this Build to Berlin series every couple weeks, roughly, over the course of the summer, leading into September for the Berlin Marathon. So please subscribe, stay tuned for that. And in between those videos, I'll also be publishing hopefully some educational content, things like what is threshold training, how do you apply it, how to manage your easy runs, what does speed training mean, how do you improve your VO2 max, all of these different things that runners ask all the time. I have my own perspective on it and things that have worked for me that I found go unanswered on the internet. So what I want to do is provide that information to you directly through this channel. So please, if you haven't subscribed already, it goes a long way. Appreciate it. See you soon. Happy running.